Hi guys, in this video I'm going to go over the text functions in Excel. A lot of them are used to parse text and use them in conjunction with each other most times. So we're going to cover a lot of those functions. Before we do that, go to excelvbasql.com. You could see over 30 hours of free video lessons to teach you about Excel and VBA. Okay, so let's get started. So we have a workbook here with a bunch of data in it. You can see we have data. We have their people's names, their street address, city, states, zip codes, and then a whole bunch of other kinds of stuff. And what we've been doing is going through this data and showing you how to use all the Excel functions, like logical functions. You could see the logical ones here and mathematical functions here. And now we're going to focus on these text functions over here. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to hide these columns, and we're first going to focus on, actually let me just first going to focus on the phone number column here. And let me just get this for us here real quick. Okay, so let's get started. So we have a column here with phone number in it. Right here, phone number. What we want to do is pull out the area code without the parentheses. So we want to pull out 703 in this for this phone number, and we want to do that in a formula. And to do that, we're going to use a couple Excel functions. One of them is going to be the find function, and then the other one is going to be the mid function. And these are under the text functions category. So over here, if you go to formulas, they're under the text formulas. These are text formulas. There's a whole bunch of them. I'm going to show you the ones that are used most frequently, and we're going to go over that, all the ones in this video. Okay, so let's get started. So first thing we want to do is we want to find where the first parentheses is, right here. We want to find this parentheses, and right now in all these phone numbers, they all begin with a parentheses. But let's say they don't. What if someone does this, right? So I want to be safe, and I just want to say I want to assume that the area code is going to be surrounded by parentheses, but I don't know what people are going to put in front of it. So to find that parentheses in this cell, I'm going to use the find function. And what's that going to do? Let's see what this does. What I want to write is find, so equals find, and then it says find text. So here's the function find, and then these are the parameters. So find text is the parameter that says, what do you want to find? Well, I want to find a parentheses. So I'm going to put parentheses here. And then here, the next parameter, I put comma, and then I go next parameter. The next parameter is called within text. Within text means what text, or within what text do you want to find this parentheses? Well, I want to find it within this cell, I6, right? So that is what the within text parameter is asking for. It's saying what cell or what text do you want to find this parentheses in. And then the last parameter, start num, is saying, okay, you want to find a parentheses in this cell, but where do you want me to start looking? At what character? At the first character, at the second character, third character. So I want to tell it, start looking at the first character, which is going to be that 1 right there. And that's it. That's the find function. I want to find a parentheses in this cell, and I want to start looking at the first character. That's what this says here. Find the parentheses in that cell, and then begin looking at the first character. And so if I hit enter, it gives me 4 here. So what is this for? This is saying there is a parentheses at the 4th character. So let's see if that's true. So here's 1, that's the first character. Then I have a space, that's the second character. Then I have another space, that's the third character. So you have to realize that spaces a blank space is considered a character. Not a character, but it's considered, yeah, it actually is considered a character. Um, so blank spaces are characters, so there's three characters here. The fourth one is the parentheses, and that's what we want. We wanted to identify where is this parentheses. If I delete the first three characters, now what I get is 1, right? And that's true now because where is the parentheses in this cell? It's the first character. That's what the find function does. It tells you what character or what position is what you're looking for in what you're looking for. So in this case, it's saying what position is a parentheses in this cell, and it's going to be the first one. Okay. Now notice this. If I put another parentheses here, and these are left parentheses, it's still going to bring back 1. So the way this works is it's going to find the first left parentheses and it's going to return that position. I just wanted to show you that. But normally you're not going to have to worry about that duplicate of things that you're looking for. So this is going to suffice for now, that now we know where this parentheses is, right? And now all we got to do is go 3 characters. We have to find these 3 characters, right, to the right of that, right? So how do we do that? Well, there's a mid function here that will allow us to do something like this. If I put, let me do something like this. I'll do it in this cell. The mid function does this. It says, give me some text. So I'm going to give it some text. Here's some text, that cell. It's going to take that text that's in that cell, and it's going to say, the next parameter here is, where do you want to start? I want to start at the beginning, so I'm going to put 1 here. And then it says, how many characters do you want to go forward? I want to go 3, right? So if I close this, the mid function is going to return the text starting at character 1 and going to character 3. So if I hit enter, I get the first 3 characters, right? I get left parentheses and a 7 and a 0. Okay. So that's really not what I want. But if I combine these 2 functions, then we're going to be in business, right? So how do we combine these? So the find function tells us where's the parentheses. It tells us that it's in the first position. And like I said before, if I put other stuff out here, it's going to tell me it's in the 12th position. And the mid function, it allows me to begin at a certain place in a string and return a value. So if I go out here, and now if I change this formula to start at 12 and give me 3, actually if I go to 13 and give me 3, then I get what I want, right? So now look how I've linked these 2 up. I'm saying go to this cell, I6, go to the 13th character and go forward 3 and return those 3 characters. So once again, this is saying in this text, where do you want to start looking? And then how many characters do you want to return once you've started at that point? So this is like the starting point, and then this is how many characters you want to return. Okay, sorry. So this is what we want. We want to combine these 2 functions. We want to do something like this. We want to go mid, I6, and what is our start number? Well, our start number is going to be this find function, the number that returned from that find function, plus 1, and we want 3 characters. So that is how you would find the area code in a cell when there's a parentheses around the area code. If I copy this down, you'll see I have the area code here. Now, it's cool because the find function allows you to look for that parentheses, right? Here's what's happening. We're looking for this parentheses right there, that first parentheses, and then we're going to add 1 to it, and that's going to position us right at the 7 and then we're going to return those three characters using the mid function. So the mid function basically says, look at this text, and then where do we want to start? Well, we use the find function for that. And remember to add 1 so that you get to the right position. So it'll bring us to the 7. And then we return 3 characters and we get 703. Okay? So those are two text functions that are very, very commonly used in Excel to parse data, parse text. The find function, you could find characters, you could find things within a cell, and then the mid function allows you to break down text in a cell to a substring, where you can start at any point in that string of characters and you could move forward. Let's do something a little bit simpler. Let's just return the last 4 digits of the phone number. Now to do that, there's a function called write. And this function write equals write asks you for text, so I'm going to give it some text, I6, and then it asks you for a number of characters. So you should be used to this by now. This number of characters is saying how many characters do you want returned, and I want the last 4 digits of the phone number, which means I want to use this write function, because what this write function does, it starts at the end and it moves backwards, right? So it's going to start over here at the 6 and move backwards for 4 characters and return whatever those characters are. So equals write I6 comma 4 gives me 5046, and look at that. That is the last 4 characters starting from the right or the end of that cell, going back 4 characters. So that's all the write function does. Now let's do something else. Let's do the same sort of thing. Instead of starting from the right and going 4 characters back, let's start from the left and go over here. Let me hide this and hide this stuff. And we have this name column here, and let's just have a column here that returns the first name. So what do we need to notice about this? Well, everyone's first name has a different length to it, right? Barry has 5 letters, Evan has 4, Caldwell has 5, 6, 8. So how do we pull out their first name? Well, what we can do is sort of do what we did before. What's good to notice is that there's a space after their first name. So we can use the find function to find where that space is, and then we could use the left function to return the proper number of characters. So let's do that. I'm just going to hide these columns here. Okay, so let me bring this over. Let's see what the left function does. It starts on the left, right? I mean, just like the right function started at the right of the cell, this left function starts at the left. So if I enter left equals left, and then I put A6, it's asking for text here. And then there's a comma. So you put the comma, and it asks for another parameter called number of characters. So this is saying, starting from the left, how many characters do you want to return? If I just put in 3, I get BAR, right? Because those are the 3 characters. Those are the first 3 characters starting from the left. B, then A, then R. If I put in 5, I get If I put in 5, I get Barry's first name. I get Barry. But if I copy this down now, Caldwell has a bigger name, so I need to make this variable here, the number of characters, I need to make that dynamic. So to do that, I can find where the space is in the person's name. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do find, and then I'm going to find, just like we did before, it's asking for, okay, the find function says what text you want to find. Well, I want to find a space. So there's the space. That's how I would find a space, by just putting two quotation marks with a space in between. I want to find a space within this cell, and I want to start looking at the first character. So now, if I do this, it's going to return the position where the space is. And when I combine that, when I use that in this left function, it's going to return Barry, right? And it returns Caldwell, and it returns the proper name for the person. It returns the first name. And that's exactly what we want, except for one thing. The actual text in this cell, let's look at the length of it. And I know we haven't used this length function yet, but all this len function does, it returns the length of this text. You can also say the number of characters in that text. It returns 6 here. So what this length function does, len, it says that there's 6 characters in this cell. Well, I only see 5, B-A-R-R-Y. I only see 5. So what's going on there? Well, because we didn't subtract 1 from we didn't subtract 1 from this, right? Because this is going to find the position of the space, right? So it goes B-A-R-R-Y space. That's going to be the sixth position in that cell. So what we really need to do to eliminate that space is to put a -1 here, and now you'll see the length of this is 5. Okay? But what we can also do is, instead of doing that, we could use another function, a text function called trim. And what this trim function does is it removes white spaces. It removes spaces from around cells. So if I do this now, let's see. Actually, I need to put the trim. Oh, actually, no. Let's see. You need to put the trim around this, around the result of the whole thing, and then you'll get 5, right? So real quick, what does this trim function do? Let's say I have a name. Let's say I have a word here, man, but then I put a bunch of spaces, right? Let's look at the length of this. The length of this should be 3, right? But it's showing 10. Why is it showing 10? It's because there's a bunch of white spaces. If you put your cursor in the formula bar, you'll see there's seven spaces, and that's what this length function does. But if you put a trim around it, it's going to remove those spaces, and now you're going to get 3. Okay, so that's what the trim does. It removes spaces that you can't see, and the length function returns the number of characters in a cell. So that will come in handy. One day you're going to be doing something in Excel, and you're going to be doing like a VLOOKUP or something, and it's not going to work. And it's not working, probably, well, one time it's not going to work because there's going to be a white space that is going to throw off your VLOOKUP. Let me just show you something. If you have a cell with the word man in it, then you have another cell with the word man plus a bunch of spaces. If you put equals h3 is equal to that, you get a false here. Even though they say the same thing, they're not equal to each other because this has a bunch of spaces in it. So you can put a trim around it, and then they're going to equal each other. So that's what's going to happen sometime when you're using Excel. When you're trying to compare two bit of text, most likely you're going to be using a VLOOKUP. If you don't know what VLOOKUP is, go to the website and learn about that, because that's a critical function you definitely need to know. But it's going to happen sometime where you have a white space that's going to mess up your formulas. So the trim function can get around that. Okay, so now we see that we were able to find anyone's first name by using the left function and saying, once again, what does the left function do? It says, you know, supply some text. Here's the text, A6, and then it says, how many characters do you want to return starting from the left? That's all it does. And instead of saying like a number, we use the find function, which returns a number, and the find function returns the position of a white space, and it returned Barry, but because we use that find function, there was another space on the end of it, so we then put a trim around it to eliminate that space. So now we get exactly what we want, the person's first name. Okay, one more thing. Another thing that you probably are going to encounter is you're going to have to parse text a different way. Let's say you have all these emails here and you want to return the part of the email that is after the @ sign. So let's say you want to return that, right? How would you do that? Well, we could do that pretty easily by combining these functions again. So notice in these formulas we've been doing, we've looked at the mid function, the right function, the left function, the find function, and the trim function. And now we're going to combine the right function and the find function with this length function. These are very common, very common functions in Excel. You're going to use them all the time. You really need to know what they do. They're very simple. The right returns characters from the right. The left returns characters from the left. The trim takes off white spaces. Find, it finds you a position of a something that you want to find in a text. And so they're very simple, but when you combine them, they're pretty powerful because you can start parsing data like this. So let's find the part of the email that is after the @ sign. How would we do that? Well, what I would do is I want to start from the right, right? So let's do that. Let's do equals right. And if I just go in here and say, I want to start from the right and I want to go 5, let's say 10 characters. This is the simple right function, right? So it returns me something, but I need to know when to stop here. I need to know where that @ sign is. So I want to go in here and I want to use the find function again. So I'm going to put find equals find. I want to find the text. I want to find this @ sign. I want to find it within this cell. And I want to start from the, character. I want to start from the first character. And what that will give me is the position of the @ sign right there. So if I go right, I'm going to go right. Let's see this. I'm going to go right. Let's see. I'm just going to pull this out real quick so you can see what's going on here. If I just put the find function that I want to find the @ sign within this text, I get a number back and I get 14. So this is telling me this @ sign is in the 14th position from the right, starting at character 1. By the way, you saw that I left out this last parameter here. It defaults to 1 if you don't do anything. If you don't put it there. So you don't need to put it there, but it's good too. So it's saying the @ sign is at the 14th character from the right, but I want everything after that. So what I can do is do this. We can use the length function. If I go, what is the length of this cell? How many characters are there? Well, there's 37. and I want everything after 14. So what I can do then is go, what is 37 minus 14? It's 23, right? So I want to start at the 23rd character. So let's do that right here. Let's do right equals right. Uh, uh, let's see. So if I want to start from the right and go 23 characters, I'm going to get everything after the at sign, which is what I want, right? So that's one way of getting everything after the at sign is um, you can subtract where you found the at sign from the length of the cell. So remember how I got this 23. It's 37 minus 14. So 37 is going to be the length of the cell. If I do length of this cell, that'll give me 37. Then if I subtract the characters that are to the left of the at sign, and I hit enter, you get everything after the at sign. So let me just scroll. Let me just clear this out. If I copy this down, you'll see here this person has, after the at sign, they have Morris, and here you see Morris. This person has condominiumdoncat.org, and there you see condominiumdoncat.org. So this is working. This formula is working. And I sort of did this in a way that was more difficult than it needed to be because I wanted to show you what this length function does. I could have done this, a different way, using the left function a different way, but I still would have had to use a length function. It probably would have been a little bit more intuitive, but just realize what's going on here. You want to return all the characters after the at sign, so you somehow need to know where that's at. Well, that's what this does. This tells us what position is the at sign, right? And you want to know out of that big string, how many of those characters are after the at sign. Well, you subtract the length of that string from the number of characters that are before the at sign. So here's the length of the string. Here's the number of characters that are before the at sign. And you get a number back. In our case, it was 23. And so we want to start on the right and go 23 back that way from right to left. And we're going to get everything after the at sign. So this one's tricky, I'll give you that. Whenever you use length and you're subtracting the number of characters, it's tricky. You got to think about it, play around with it, get your head around it. But that's all I wanted to show in this video were these functions. And let me just unhide all this stuff. So just as a summary, what did we do? Well, we had a phone number, right? We saw that we can extract the area code by using a function that looked like this, mid. And remember what mid does. It just says, where's your text? Okay, that's my text. Where do you want to start pulling characters from, and how many characters do you want to pull? And we always, in this case, we use the find function to say, where do we want to start? And then this says, after I know where to start, I want to pull 3 characters. And this, so up here, it really is the mid function within the mid function, we use the find function. So I had it the other way around. So we use the mid function in conjunction with the find function to get the area code. And then we just had a phone number. We wanted the last 4 digits, so that means starting from the right, give me the last 4. And this is a very simple example that for the right function, you pass in some text and you pass in the number of characters you want starting from the right. It's going to return that. We also looked at how to find someone's first name when their first name and last name are separated by a space. And we used the left function in that case. We started off by saying, here's my text. Here's how many characters that I want to go starting from the left. But then we had to put the trim function around it because there was that space that we know we had to account for. The trim function removes white space. And our last bit using these text functions was parsing text of an email and trying to get everything after the @ sign. This one was a bit more trickier, but basically you want to know the number of characters after the @ sign, and that's what this does. You look at the total number of characters in the cell, and then you subtract off everything before the @ sign, which is this number, and you get the number of characters that you're going to have starting from the right of this cell, and you'll get what you want. So we use the right function in conjunction with this calculation here. Total number of characters minus number of characters at the @ sign or to the left of it, and you're going to get all the characters to the right of the @ sign, and you do it like that. So these are critical. I mean, if you want to get good at Excel, if you're gonna be good at Excel and be able to do complex things, you have to know how to use the mid function. Absolutely, 100%. You have to know how to use the right and the left function and the trim function and the find function. Absolutely have to. So I'm going to upload this workbook onto the website. You could download it and you could see all these formulas. You could watch the video, follow along, and see my explanations. We went over the text functions, the mathematical functions, logical functions, and here's the data that we've used, and we've inserted columns and all kinds of stuff. So if you haven't watched all the videos, I really encourage you to do that because I'm not trying to do this in a haphazard way. I'm sort of showing you, if you want to be good at Excel, this is what you absolutely 100% need to know. You need to know how to do logical functions and these mathematical functions and these text functions. And they're not difficult. They're absolutely not difficult. They're very easy, but they're critical to doing things in Excel. Okay, so I'm going to upload this video and I'm going to upload this worksheet, so you can go here to excelvbasicschool.com and you could download it, or you could watch all the other videos for free. Put your email in here if you want to receive emails when new videos go up. Okay, thanks. Bye.